to the media for coming. With me this morning is the entire member of the elected members of Parliament of the Barbados Labour Party. And we've asked you to come to this press briefing because of the seriousness of the issues which now confront us and the country by reason of an incident which took place on the 19th of March. The Parliament of Barbados is the third oldest parliament in the Commonwealth. It is a place where great strides have been made for the protection of our people and indeed against the backdrop of differing political views. It is also a parliament that has displayed tremendous political maturity in the conduct of the affairs of this country, even when debate has been robust. As I said, on the night of March 19th, an incident occurred within the precincts of Parliament, which, according to Edmund Burke, is difficult to speak about, but impossible to be silent. The investigation of the actual incident which took place is a matter which my deputy, Mr. Dale Marshall, has requested to go before a committee of privileges, and also it has now become the subject of a police investigation. We will await the outcome of both of these processes in respect of the actual incident itself, and I offer no further comment on that at this particular stage. There is, however, two wider issues, and those issues relate to, one, the issue of the safety of members of Parliament and workers of Parliament in the conduct of the business of Parliament, and two, the continued presence of Mr. David Eswick in the Cabinet of Barbados. Indeed, as a consequence of this incident, on the night itself of the 19th, Mr. Dale Marshall and myself would have gone to the Speaker's office, and requested formally that a policy related to the carrying of guns be put in place as a matter of urgency before the resumption of Parliament on the 20th of April. In addition, I would have written the Speaker of the House of Assembly and copied the letter to the Prime Minister, the Leader of Government Business, and the Clerk of Parliament, requesting that that firearms policy be put in place, simply because no person entering or speaking in Parliament should at any time feel intimidated or threatened as a result of merely performing their duties in the Parliament of Barbados. Indeed, we received a letter back on the 16th of April from the Speaker of the House of Assembly indicating, and that is last Friday, indicating that the matter will be referred, in his view, to the Committee of Privileges and will therefore not be installed as a policy before the sitting on Tuesday morning. We are in disagreement with this action. This is a matter for the Speaker of the House of Assembly, as is access of all persons to the precincts of Parliament, and indeed the conditions under which such access is granted. Indeed, the security of Parliament is a matter on which the Speaker also has the jurisdiction to sign off. In our view, it is simply too simple a matter to resolve, and one on which there ought to be no political divide. The safety of members and workers in Parliament is a matter of fundamental importance, irrespective of political affiliation. Having to await an investigation on a committee of privileges and having to refer it to a lengthy process is, in our view, another way of trying to sweep it under the carpet, and it is a clear demonstration of the government circling the wagons and attempting to sweep the matter under the carpet. We believe that the Speaker has a duty to deal with this matter urgently in the interests of both workers and members of Parliament, and that it is necessary to preserve the dignity as well as the political maturity of the Barbados Parliament, which, as I said, is the third oldest parliament in the Commonwealth. Parliament, by nature, is a place that is adversarial, and tempers will sometimes fly. There simply is no reason for anyone to be carrying a gun within the precincts of Parliament. Policies are designed not for the normal average person, but indeed for the unexpected, inappropriate, and sometimes illegal actions of the minority. Further, we believe that the Prime Minister, whose power is invested by Parliament, and who has the ultimate responsibility for the leadership of this country, has a moral responsibility and a clear and vested interest to declare his position on two matters. One, on the issue of the continued retention of David Eswick in his cabinet, and I will come to that shortly, and two, on the simple but fundamental matter of the safety of members and workers within Parliament. It is not acceptable for this matter to be the subject of a political football in our view. In the same way that the Prime Minister has found it necessary to speak to the inappropriate behavior of sections of the Barbadian society, minibusmen, artists, etc., he has a duty to speak to these issues. There cannot be two Barbaduses. We believe also that the promise made by the Democratic Labour Party to institute immediately a code of conduct for DLP ministers upon being appointed to cabinet is now clearly one that has to be called into sharp focus. There can be no acceptable behavior for a minister of government to be accused of pulling a gun or dealing with a gun in any way, whether in or out of Parliament. But further, were this behavior the subject of an allegation against any other member of the Barbadian society, it would be the subject of action, whether it would be a minibus man from the Pine or whether it would be an artist from Bush Hall. Indeed, we feel that it is a fundamental breach of trust between the governed and those who are responsible for the government. And I must say to you, and former Prime Minister Owen Arthur is here, and I will ask him to speak. In the 71 years that the Barbados Labour Party has been a political party in this country, it would never, in our view, have been acceptable for any member, from a leader to a member of Parliament to a member of the rank and file, to behave in this manner and for it to go unquestioned and swept under the carpet. Persons have been disciplined for far less serious actions during the course of our political history. And it is important that we who are leaders in this country keep faith with those who we have the responsibility to lead. It is not behavior that will go unnoticed if it happened in the bus stand or if it happened in a dub in this country. Every Barbadian has a lawful and reasonable expectation that breaches will be dealt with in an appropriate manner. They equally have an expectation that they will be safe at work. And members of Parliament are no different. The Prime Minister cannot simply refer to incidents in the past as if to say, so what? That is an inappropriate and unacceptable response from the leader of this country. Indeed, recent tragic events in the last week have shown the danger of firearms even when in inexperienced hands, persons who are accustomed to deal with them. We are not, therefore, prepared to expose our members of Parliament to situations that can be so easily avoidable.